Hi, my name is Tom Matthews, and my research project was on the high cost of living in the elderly community. While I was in class last semester in the spring, I was given the assignment to have 6 meetings with an elderly patient for a class on geriatrics. We had to ask the gentleman about his experiences while physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually deteriorating through the aging process. He was very accepting of his decline in mental and physical activity, although he did admit life had become much harder on him. When asked what the hardest part of aging is, he responded that it is hard to outlive your mind, physical health, and money. He kept talking about how expensive assisted living can be for someone. In the media, we are constantly told how many people retire and then realize that they do not have enough money to finance their living. The poverty in the elderly has drastically increased. Partly, and ironically, modern medicine and advances in technology has contributed to this problem. It takes a lot more money to finance a longer retirement with the increase in life expectancy rate. Also, there becomes more and more financial responsibilities, especially in terms of medicine. As one gets older, we can imagine the number of complications that come along with it. Cancer treatment, for example, heart failure medications, and many more problems will arise, such as broken bones and lower mental capacity, are all also obvious contributors to medical complications and financial disparities. In today's society, we see our parents, grandparents, and other loved ones having to work past the age of retirement because of a lack of money for retirement. In what is the Social Security retirement age from the National Academy of Social Insurance, they do a case study over the legislation being passed in order to legally increase the age of retirement. For example, there is a financial bonus for delayed retirement. An individual reaching the full benefit age in 2015 as 66 years old receives an additional 8% benefit for each year he or she delays collecting benefits. If he or she delays taking benefits until age 70, the benefit will be 32% higher because of that delay. The maximum retirement benefit for someone who waits until age 70 to collect benefits is $3,501 a month in 2015. This staggering law indicates our society and changing culture shift. This shows how the government is trying to keep many elderly Americans employed in exchange for more financial benefits. This also shows that there is a need for more money in the elderly community for retirement. Billions of dollars are being taken away from the elderly because of fraud and various schemes that target those with lower mental capacity and understanding to discern the difference between a valid business opportunity and a false one or a fraud. I have realized through my interactions with the elderly community that money is a big, big problem. While attending Mass last week, a 75-year-old woman asked for us to pray for one of her friends, excuse me, that was having a huge difficulty and problem selling their house because of being in debt. My grandparents lost a great deal of money by being schemed into investing thousands of dollars into a company that was found out later to be illegitimate. Upon further research, I realized that this was no exception to the rest of the elderly community, and that this was not an isolated incident in my family. According to the Government Accountability Office, an astounding estimated $2.9 billion is being drained out of the elderly through financial exploitation annually. Fox Business went on to elaborate that it is very rare for these victims to ever recover any of the money taken away from them. Many elderly individuals have been victims often of these cruel ruses to steal money from unsuspecting elderly people. According to Why Older Americans Are Financially Vulnerable, an article from U.S. News and World Report, financial abuse and exploitation of the elderly is commonplace, even more so with telephone fraud and various schemes on websites, and this is mainly because of the various new modes of social media at people's fingertips. The man that I interviewed explained how difficult it was to pay for his living costs. One of the topics that will be covered is the case study of why the price of living is so expensive when government funds a substantial amount of the expenses for assisted living of the elderly. I will also be discussing the price of healthcare spiking in the elderly community. My patient also explained how his mother was near death when the physician told him they needed to perform surgery on her. My patient was uneasy about the quality of life that his mother would be getting after the surgery. However, she underwent the surgery and subsequently got an infection in the operating table on the operating table because of her health and old age. In effect, the surgeon had to amputate her leg later. A few weeks following, unfortunately, the mother of my patient passed away. The patient was upset by his mother that his mother had to die in pain, as well as having to prolong the inevitable with very expensive medical bills along with it. The disputed argument of whether or not this surgery would increase her quality of living is an important one. From the perspective that I am taking, it is important to see if there are advantages to do these risky surgeries. One of the problems is that the woman, our example, it's a woman who's the patient, will be in debt after all these surgeries and treatments. On the other hand, since she passed away, this monetary financial burden might be impressed upon her aging son, who my patient at the time is her son in this example, who is her only child. Healthcare costs are a huge problem in the elderly community. In addition, the average age for retirement has steadily increased. Legislation in the United States is slowly changing, as I previously said, slowly changing in order to increase the legal age of retirement. According to Financial Security of Elderly Americans at Risk, proposed changes to Social Security and medicine and Medicare could make a majority of seniors economically vulnerable. An article in the Economic Policy Institute, the supplemental poverty measure indicates that the poverty seen in the aging has dramatically increased within the past few years alone. According to Poverty Among Seniors, in 2013, half of all people on Medicare had incomes less than $23,500, which is equivalent to 200% of poverty in 2015. In addition, I will also be addressing the problems with living in nursing homes. Nursing homes are only meant for short-term living in the United States for the most part. However, according to nursing home issues, with a longer life expectancy and for the sake of convenience, many elderly people are being put into nursing homes for longer periods of time. This social change has allowed many older individuals to be put into nursing homes without having any way to pay for these expenses. Many caregivers are strained to pay for money if the elderly person is already in debt. The assisted living facilities also make quite a profit from these expenses. Unfortunately, not much has been done to alleviate the many financial problems on the elderly. For the most part, we easily leave the issue alone because it does not affect us. However, as we age, we will hope that someone takes a decided interest in humanitarian effort to help solve these problems. There are multiple different pathways that need to be taken in order to rid our country of these problems. Interestingly, the financial problems that the elderly are facing are what cause these health problems that we see. Stress levels, inactivity, lack of exercise, and depression are increased greatly from financial woes. Job security is always unpredictable, especially to those who are aging, which can also induce high levels of stress. Conversely, the health problems can cause financial trouble when footing the hefty healthcare cost bills. I think that this needs to be addressed at a federal, state, and local government level, specifically the state level. There needs to be government spending specifically for assisted living facilities. Although it may not be able to completely finance the living expenses of every elderly person, it should take a great deal of it off. Also, these programs should finance different amounts of money to people by need based help. For instance, if the elderly individual can easily pay for his or her lifestyle, then he or she should only be given a small portion of financial help. Filial support laws should be used in addition, and these government programs should take into account family members or caregivers and their willingness and ability to pay such financial obligations. In response to the article Nursing Home Cost Studies and Reimbursement Issues, variables of occupancy rate as well as ownership and provider type that decide the cost of nursing home needs to be addressed. If there are more occupants in a nursing home, then this will allow costs to decrease. I think that the best solution is to directly use tax dollars for building more rooms within these facilities. Also, it provides more privacy for the individual, as well as the cost of living to decrease to something more affordable. Provider type should not be a factor of payment to a facility. There should be a specific amount of money that each facility receives from the state government, and the state government should determine a similar price for every facility funding. I think that there can be options of different qualities of rooms available with different set prices. However, each facility must state and have a reasonable price for their average options for each individual. In response to Debt of the Early and Near Elderly by Craig Copeland, it seems that there is a startling problem with an increase in poverty for those 55 years of age and older. There is no easy fix for this problem, but there are many ways to help the situation. It is important for the government to create incentives to avoid this increasingly occurring problem. One way is to change the financial benefit age for those who wait to use their pension. There should be longer term plan there should be a longer term plan for aging adults to wait to dip into their private pensions. If adults were told at a much younger age that saving money for their retirement without taking any money out would yield thousands more dollars later, then they would have a lot better financial outlook on retirement right now. Gary Fields' Economic Determinants of the Optimal Retirement Age and Sickles' An Analysis of the Health and Retirement Status of the Elderly articles both address the variables of not only income, but also spending and saving as well. A depleted pension can cause lots of health problems. In order to avoid health issues by being more energetic and active, an early retirement on one's own terms is ideal. The biggest way to create a happy retirement is to plan early, especially with the help of the aforementioned government incentive. Finally, in Neil Krause's Financial Strain and Psychological Well-Being Among the American and Japanese Elderly, Krause displays the problem of depression from stress in the elderly. The best way to get rid of the depression onset by stress of finances is to attack the source. First, from a young age, each individual should create a retirement plan. The government should force each bank to talk to their new client about a retirement plan. While the new client is still new and young to the financial aspects of life, the bank should request mandatory follow-up visits to continue the discussion of their retirement plans for the first, say, 2 to 3 years. After this time, the client will then only have to meet once a year with a banker to help with their retirement plan. Failure to meet with a banker about one's retirement plan will cause the bank to close the client's account temporarily until they have their retirement planning meeting. Next, I think there should also be mandatory counseling to aging individuals. At the age of 55, I think 10 sessions of counseling should be offered annually to all individuals under their Social Security. This will help them realize their end goals and savings plan for retirement, allow, allowing them to have a positive outlet for their concerns and fears, and reduce their high risk of depression. I believe that this will help many elderly individuals gain financial security, and in the process, it will reduce their health risks associated with it. While reflecting on the patient I was fortunate enough to interview, I still remember his worries. I will never forget him telling me he had no fears in life other than outliving his mind, body, and money. It seems very surface level and shallow to be worrying about money at such an elderly or advanced age. However, this has health implications and quality of living can be impacted greatly. By petitioning and voting for better funding and spending for the elderly, these issues can slowly dissipate from our country's elderly communities. Thank you.